My name is Mjengo. I'm the president of the Architectural Association of Kenya. The Architectural Association of Kenya is an association that incorporates built environment professionals. We are we're the premier association of built environment professionals in Kenya, and we incorporate architects, town planners, quantity surveyors, engineers, landscape architects, construction project managers, and environmental design consultants, which means as an association, we're a very holistic organization. Today, I'm happy to talk about our Je-Hoon Django campaign. Our Je-Hoon Django campaign is really our public sensitization campaign. We do this annually, starting back in 2017. And what we focus on is really informing the public about the process towards putting up a building, whether it's residential, whether it's commercial. We focus on sensitizing the public why you need professionals and how to ensure your professionals are qualified, what approvals you need to acquire, which statutory agencies you need to approach, how to get your construction permits. We take them through why to have a consultant during the construction process, as a consultant who will be able to supervise on behalf of a client until the end of handing over the project and a client getting an occupation certificate. I want to focus on why we do this. And really why we do this, if I can reflect back, on September 23rd, 2019, 7 school children left their homes, regular school day. Those school children did not return home that day. They were from Precious Talent School in Dagoretti. The school building collapsed, and those children did not return home to their families. I cannot stress enough how important it is for us to value every Kenyan life. And in this public campaign, we focus on ensuring that the public knows the process to go through to be able to build a safe building. Building a safe building means that you have to go through due diligence. It means you have to engage the consultants that you require, but you do end up with a safe building, and you do end up safeguarding Kenyan lives. So this year's Je-Hoon Django campaign. One, I have to say we are in unusual times. I hope everybody is keeping safe. We did not anticipate COVID-19 and the impact it would have in how we move in social settings in urban and public spaces. So the Je-Hoon Django campaign in the past has actually been held as a public clinic at Aga Khan Walk. This year, due to the constraints and ensuring that people keep safe and ensuring that we also do our part in preventing transmission of COVID-19, we're holding our campaign through various media platforms. We'll be engaging with the public on our social media platforms. We shall also have coordinated sessions throughout the week on various radio stations, which we invite you to listen in across the board and throughout the country, discussing the process of building. Additionally, we shall also be featuring opinion editorials in print media, and we'll be focusing on some specific topics. Starting off Monday, we'll be talking about what our campaign is and why we feel it's important to do this. On Tuesday, we shall focus on construction e-permitting and what that process is like, demystifying how to get a construction permitting through an online process. On Wednesday, we will actually be joined by our partner, National Construction Authority, the Executive Director, who will be talking about, from a regulator standpoint, what you need to be able to ensure that your building is put up to code, to regulations, and safely. He'll also be touching a little bit on construction safety standards in a COVID-19 era. On Thursday, we shall hear from a structural engineer on how to build a structurally safe sound building. And in closing out the week, on Friday, we shall have a word from our CEO, Jacob Mwangi, who will talk about the access to information. Je-Hoon Django is about public sensitization. AAK across the board has other platforms to be able to sensitize and provide information to the public, and he will be touching on access to information and how AAK is addressing that as well. I cannot stress enough how important it is to engage professionals in the building process. One of the things that we have realized over time, and Precious Talent was not a one-off. We have had buildings that collapse and buildings that end up endangering Kenyan lives before, in the past and to date. And the reason that we engage professionals is that we start smart, that we start from the perspective of understanding what we need to do in terms of ensuring that we put up a building that is safe for the tenants who will occupy that building. A professional will not only design your building, but they'll also advise you during the bill of quantities and pricing process. They'll advise you and take your project through obtaining the necessary approvals to put up a building that has been approved. And additionally, during construction, they will supervise that work. I cannot stress this enough, and I feel like one thing that we do tend to do, Kenyans as a whole, is we do tend to like to take shortcuts. And it's important for us to understand what a shortcut means in the long run. It could be your building that collapses. It could be your building that collapses. Do not take shortcuts. Go ahead and go through the process, get the necessary approvals, get a consultant on the project, ensure that your construction work is being supervised by a consultant. Reason being, when you have a contractor on site and he goes ahead and tells you that he has undertaken certain work, how are you going to be able to verify that? That is what a professional consultant does for you. Post-COVID-19, a lot will change in the construction industry. A lot will change in how we design buildings. I think, if you're looking right now to reopen your facility, I urge you to engage an architect to come in and consult on ensuring your space becomes ready for a post-COVID-19 open. And at the Architectural Association of Kenya, we're happy to give you a list of our architects who are registered with us. The design spaces will change in how offices operate. Some offices are completely now moving to work at home. Twitter actually told its employees that work at home indefinitely. When you look at other companies, they will be actually a meshing of working at home as well as working in the office. We'll be looking at office spaces having less space for employees, meaning that we'll be spaced out. We'll be looking at having hands-free doors, hands-free facilities within office spaces. For restaurants, we've already seen those are high-impact areas, so we've seen in service areas that you need to put up a plexiglass or you need to have your employees safeguarded in some way. In public spaces, we'll have to rethink how we move, whether we're moving in public transportation or whether you're just in a regular day going to a civic building to obtain a passport or an ID, or how do you actually move in that space safely? Meaning it has to be well marked to ensure that there's safe spacing of people. It means that we have to now rethink as a whole, as an urban city, how to ensure that there's access to safe water for all to be able to ensure that COVID-19 is not spread. What I've touched on is just some basic elements that we all need to be thinking about as we reopen our country and we try to go back to a sense of normalcy. However, it will be touched on by the National Construction Authority Executive Director on how, if you have a construction site, if you're a construction worker, how to ensure that your site is safe throughout this time when COVID-19 still exists within our environment. During this public sensitization campaign, we'll really be taking the public through the various steps towards putting up a building. The first step would be, once you have your site, you have identified your site, you have a site, then you would actually start developing a brief. If you're building your own home and you have 3 children, you know how many bedrooms you'd want to have, you know what type of kitchen you would prefer, you know what sort of outdoor space you would like to be planned. As you develop that project brief, just a wish list of yours. Who is the person who actually makes sure that becomes a reality? An architect. Come to an architect to design that for you. And one of the things that is important for us to stress is that there are people who say they are architects, but architecture is actually a regulated profession. We are regulated under the Board of Registration of Architects and Quantity Surveyors. Ensure that the person that you're engaging, whether it's an architect, whether it's an engineer, whether it is a quantity surveyor, is somebody who is a registered professional. And I want to stress the reason that you have a registered professional is because they're accountable, and they're held accountable because of an act that governs their practice. So how do you verify whether your professional is somebody who is registered? As I mentioned, BORAX, the Board of Registration of Architects and Quantity Surveyors, has a full list of who is a registered professional. If it's an engineer, you would go to the Engineers Board of Kenya. So there are ways to verify this. And again, I cannot stress how important it is to do your due diligence. And we say this even in land transactions. When you buy a piece of land, ensure that you do your due diligence and find out that that title is in fact owned by the person selling it to you. The same applies to putting up a building. Again, the consequences of not going through due diligence are a building collapsing. A small cost in the beginning could save you millions at the end, and I cannot stress that more. Once you engage your professional will take you through the process of having a scheme design based on your project brief, a developed design, and then the project team would also involve a quantity surveyor, an electrical and mechanical engineer. The whole team would now also go into developing what is called a bills of quantities. A bills of quantities is the document that actually allows you to go out and plan for the building in terms of quantities of materials and costs. Every single element of the building is captured within that. And what that allows you to do is now to seek a contractor. I will go into also how to ensure that your contractor is a qualified contractor. Once you have a bill of quantities, you have an option to either give that to a contractor that you know, or call for what is called an open call for quotations from contractors. We urge all members of the public to ensure your contractor is a registered contractor. You would do this through the National Construction Authority. They have a registered list of members, as well as the category of membership that that person is registered under. Meaning the category of membership means what kind of work this person is qualified to do. A person who's qualified to do a 3-bedroom house in general has less qualifications than say somebody who's building a skyscraper as a contractor. So the National Construction Authority will really guide you on whether the contractor is right for you, whether the contractor is registered, and whether the contractor can actually do the scale of the work that you're looking to accomplish. It's important to do further due diligence, even beyond the National Construction Authority. Ask your contractor to give you a few names of clients that they have worked for. Go to their projects and look at them. Look at the quality of the work. Look at the laying of the tiles. Check if there are any leakages in the house. That will give you a bit of a scope of an actual visual confirmation of the work that that contractor has done to be able to inform you whether you should move forward with that particular contractor. Once the contractor comes on board, and perhaps even before the contractor comes on board, maybe I can go back just a little bit, your consultants will actually, as they're doing concept, as they're doing design development, they will actually put in your plans for approval. The approval process is usually through your county government. Your county government does have to approve any development that is coming up, and usually will submit architectural and structural drawings for approval. In addition, you may have to also get approvals from other organizations. If it's something near the airport, you may have to go through KCAA. You may also have to go through NEMA. So it's important to engage a consultant so you can be able to ensure that you're checking all the things that you require in terms of your statutory approvals, so that you do not have a case where later on your building is coming to be demolished because you did not do the right thing at the right time. As you go ahead and you get the approvals, the contractor can also be sought using the bill of quantities, and then once approvals are in place and you have signed a contract with your contractor, again, which can be advised by your team of professionals, you go ahead and you break ground. As you break ground, your consultants will stay on board with you and supervise the construction, and they'll supervise the construction from start to finish, ensuring what they have designed and what they have specified is actually what is being put in place by the contractor. This is where we find a lot of members of the public take shortcuts, which is, why don't I have somebody design and then I'll supervise the work myself. I cannot overemphasize how important it is to have a professional supervise your work. It is required, it is required by NCA, and it's required that the work is supervised by a registered professional. And as this person supervises your work, they'll be able to pick up on things that will perhaps, for example, something that is structurally unsound. Maybe a contractor has put in a different steel specification than was in the BQ or was as designed by the engineer, and so on and so forth along the construction process. And then finally, at the end, once your building is up, the consultants will work with the contractor to ensure a steady handover. Will ensure that during the defects and liability period, any upcoming issues are addressed along the way. And that is why it is important throughout the building process to engage professionals, to do your due diligence, and to ensure that you have all the information that is required towards ensuring your building is safe and sound.